Attorney General Jeff Sessions has an advisor on marijuana policy that's very much of the old Nixon school. As in, literally, he was trying to write legislation around marijuana when Richard Nixon was still in office. Now, he's come up with some really frightening ideas after having spoken to the Daily Beast. This man feels that it should be mandatory for all citizens of the United States to have drug tests, like when they go to the doctor and have a regular kind of checkup. And I'm not kidding, this is not hyperbole, this is what the guy really believes. And this is the guy who's going to help Attorney Jeff Sessions write policy for marijuana use. But who exactly is this guy? Robert DuPont is a major figure in President Richard Nixon's war on drugs. He was called to advise Attorney Jeff Sessions on federal marijuana policy. Now, DuPont is known for his aggressive stance on mandatory drug testing. Throughout the years, DuPont has acted at times as shareholder, advisor, and consultant to various drug testing companies. So in other words, the guy who's going to make money, or the guy who's going to make money for people in drug testing, is saying that everyone should be drug tested. Now, here's some really interesting laws that he wants to push through. Let's say you commit a crime, but you have a drug in your system, but wasn't related to the crime. Let's say you committed a crime, but you smoked a joint like 2 days ago, or like 2 weeks ago. That would still technically count as extra to the crime, just having a drug in your system, even if it's legal where you're from. This is being called the bill to prohibit the internal possession of chemical or controlled substances. Any person who provides bodily fluid sample containing any amount of a chemical or controlled substance commits an offense punishable in the same manner as if the person was otherwise possessed that substance. And in the footnote you can see, this provision is not a DUI-specific law. Rather, it applies to any person who tests positive for chemical or controlled substances. That's right, if you commit any kind of law and you just happen to have a drug in your system at some time, even if it was like a month before you committed the offense, you're now guilty of a new form of possession. I mean, this is some really frightening totalitarian stuff here. Even things that have nothing to do with the crime that is being committed are now linked to it. This guy wants people, all Americans, to have a mandatory drug testing. Like, you just go to your doctor and you do a regular blood test to check on your general health. They're going to check for drugs too, and then charge you if they find anything. I mean, this is like really astounding. This is the same guy who tried to push for having mandatory drug testing on welfare recipients. This is the guy who way back in the Nixon era said that people coming out of jail have to be drug tested, and if you test positive for a drug while you're on probation, then you have to go back to jail, even if your offense has nothing to do with drugs. I mean, that's the kind of guy this is. This is the kind of stuff he's pushing. This is the kind of stuff even the Nazis wouldn't have bothered doing. And that's frightening here. This guy, when called out on the fact that he's doing this purely for a profit motive, of not just for himself, but for other people, he says, I find it hard to believe that anybody would really think that I would be doing this for a financial incentive for all these decades. Well, yeah, it's not like there's a temporal barrier to the profit motive or something. It's crazy to me that this is the kind of thing that's coming down the pipe. I mean, this is supposed to be an advanced, industrialized first world country, and yet we see like draconian, like third world dictatorship hellhole kind of laws. This is absolutely ridiculous, and this is the guy who is advising Attorney General Jeff Sessions on marijuana. That's right, marijuana, the least harmful drug. Not even least harmful, the most positive of the illegal drugs, is the one that is now going for this kind of thing. He wants a mandatory drug testing for something that is not only not a problem, but something that has helped an astronomical amount of people, that has the potential to help so many more, because he has some backwards idea about a Puritan America, Norman Rockwell painting that never existed, and all of it for his own profit motive. If anything ever really demonstrated the complete and utter marriage of capitalism and the bourgeois state, I mean, this is it. I mean, we even know as Marxists there must be some kind of distance between the bourgeois state and the capitalists, or else it cannot function. There must be some kind of distance in order to regulate the contradictions between various groups of the ruling class. But this one is absolutely frightening as to how far it will go to step on people's rights. And this is something that, all Americans should be concerned about. Even if you have some reactionary ideas about marijuana, etc., this should still frighten you, because you are going to get drug tested as well. And it's high time that Americans really started standing up and doing something about this, because we've got some states legalizing marijuana. And, of course, now the Department of Justice wants to start doing something about that. They want to restrict the ability of the states to exercise states' rights over the matter. Now, this piece of legislation, this bill, which means even if, you get arrested for a crime that has nothing to do with drugs, and it's still in your system, and that drug is legal in your state, you're still going to be in trouble. So, but even if it's legal and it has nothing to do with the crime you've been accused of, because it's usually accused and not proven, you're still going to get it. Even when marijuana is allowed, it still suffers from this problem. And this is a frightening piece of legislation that Americans should be paying very close attention to. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.